We all are very kind, and we all are very much aware of what is happening all around us. So sometimes we need healing for our own self. Aware of what is happening all around us. And sometimes we need healing for our friends, family members. And sometimes we need healing to heal our world, the situation in our neighborhood, in our community, and wherever we get any kind of news. You open the television, radio, newspaper, Facebook, WhatsApp. Sometimes you receive such kind of news that you feel everybody needs healing. And more we share the vibration of healing, the words of healing, we create better community. We help everybody to grow and bring the health and wealth and happiness in their life, bring harmony in the relationship. In so many ways, this is a very special project, personal project of our life that we can embark onto it today. And certified, experienced Brother Vivek is going to take us on our wonderful journey. So let's welcome Brother Vivek, and you all are welcome to unmute yourself if you can manage to, either video or audio, and wave to our brother Vivek. Vivek bhai, welcome. And it's good morning here, and perhaps it's a little afternoon there, right? You are 3 hours journey, okay, 3 hours time difference.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
So now I will allow Vivek bhai to take a microphone and start the work. I will mute myself. Thank you, Linda Ben, and thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you for the warm welcome, Sister Hansa and Sister Linda, and wonderful bouquet. Can you all hear me properly?
Thank you for the reminder.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Yes, we are able to hear you properly, and welcome, okay. Carol.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit of a presentation today. And before I do that, I just want to a little bit tell you about myself. So first of all, I'm the same guy you see in the flyer, but this is my new haircut. It's called COVID haircut. So that's what I'm using now. So, but it's the same person. I have been practicing Raj Yoga for last several years, like 20 plus years. And I have the fortune of connecting with a lot of wonderful souls, a lot of experienced yogis, and have learned from all of them. And it was always my desire to go deeper into understanding the spiritual knowledge, but most importantly, to understand how things work and how I can make all of this wonderful spiritual knowledge, all the amazing things which have been taught to me, to put it into a practical life. And that desire to really make it practical, first of all, to benefit myself, to heal myself. And then as I benefited from it, I started sharing it with a lot of other people around. And I'm a certified heart intelligent coach. So I work with people one-on-one or small groups. We also do small retreats where we take people more deeper into this journey. And I have also set up a lot of mindfulness community in corporations. So I teach meditation in the corporation. So other companies invite me to share on mindfulness, share on some of these techniques which I've learned so that they can make more mindful cultures. So bringing in that balance of being in a corporate world and how we can be mindful is really, really critical. And more people are recognizing that it is really important to create a positive, mindful culture. So today, what I'm going to share with you is some of the techniques which can help you in your healing, especially emotional healing, because that is a doorway for a long-term transformation. So if you really see in long term, we all know what is right, what is wrong. We all have a lot of knowledge, but what is not allowing us to really transform in long term is some of the past stuff which has not been dealt with. So before I start, I want to share my presentation, but I'm not able to see the button for sharing on Zoom. So if somebody
Okay,
can
I
make
just
me a
make you co-host, brother.
okay.
Now
Okay.
can you see?
Yes, I can see. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Yeah. Let me see if I can make this. So I'm going to share, and let me know if you can see one big screen, which is the slide. Can somebody confirm?
Yes, yes, we can see.
Okay, great. So the idea is like we all need healing, as the sister was saying, and it's also our personal project. And if we really heal, we can actually come into our fullness. But before even we jump into that, I want to ask all of you, and you can actually, you want to type or you can unmute yourself. But what does healing really means? If I say I'm healed or this thing is healed, what does it really mean that there is a healing there? So what does healing really means in long term? Anybody would like to share? What does healing really means?
Don't react much to the outside circumstances that we cannot control. So
Yeah.
it should be subtle.
Yeah. So this is a symptom of healing. So when you are healed, then you won't react. You won't get upset. None of these things are going to happen, you know. Somebody says you are at peace and able to enjoy present moment. That's true. And this is also a symptom. It brings balance and harmony. These are all symptoms. But if you really see from a healing perspective, say if I cut this finger, you know, because of knife, I was cooking something or whatever it is, then the blood starts coming, right? So when blood starts coming, my first thing is to stop the blood. So I wash it, I use some kind of a antibiotic to clean it, and then I put some kind of a ointment or whatever the medicine is there and wrap it. So I wrap my finger, and then over a period of time, I just leave it like that. I don't disturb it. I don't kind of fiddle with it. And then maybe a week or 3-4 days later, when I remove that bandage, then I see that the wound or the place where the cut was there, it starts healing, right? But it hasn't healed completely. But as I give it more time, take care of it, and eat the right food, all of those kind of things, then maybe after 2 weeks, when I look at my finger, the finger is completely healed. There is not even a sign of scar if it wasn't too deep of a hurt, right? So the scar is not there and the finger is back to normal. So when that happens, I said, I'm healed, my finger is healed, right? So using that analogy, what healing really means is going back to your original stage. You know, that's what healing really means, that you go back to your original state. So at a physical level, you have a good example. Similarly, we have a lot of different parts of us. So we have a physical body, we have an emotional body, we have an energetic body, we have a spiritual self. All of these, they're different levels at which these healings has to happen. So when we are actually understanding knowledge, when we are taking all the positivity, we have been given instructions to do this, do that, but don't do this, don't do that. All of this is actually to help us create an environment so that we can heal or expedite the healing process. So at a physical level, it's very obvious what to do. But at an emotional level, at an energetic level, it gets a little more subtle. But we see it in our behavior. If somebody's upset all the time, they're always thinking negative, they're always doing all the negative stuff, then you realize there is something not okay with that person. There is something which is missing, you know, which means somewhere something is hurt. That's what the symptoms are being shown outside. So all of you would have noticed, like, somebody who's a happy person would be spreading happiness, right? They would always try to make other people happy, try to joke around, try to keep the environment light. But similarly, people who are not happy, people who are negative, who are upset, something is bothering them, they would keep on spreading negativity, keep on spreading that pain, that hurt, and then people over a period of time say, oh, I don't want to be in company of that person. But imagine if you have to live with that kind of a person. They are in your close relationship, you can't escape. Or if you are that person in some ways who lives in that kind of a space, how do you heal yourself? So before the question, how do you heal yourself at that level, the bigger question is, when we heal ourselves, when somebody is healed, what does it feel like? What does it feel? So some of you have already answered, there is no pain, the scar doesn't exist, balance and harmony. So if you really take all of these symptoms, like when I have peace and harmony, I don't react, I don't get upset, all of this thing, when it's happening, we are in a state of peace and lightness. That's our natural symptoms. And you can expand on it, like, oh, peace means this, lightness means this. But what we would try to do is, we try to experience this in this moment. Okay. So what we are going to do is, we are going to just do like a minute or 2 minutes of just getting into this space of peace and lightness. Everybody here has experienced peace or lightness in their life at different points of time. Or even if you haven't experienced it, you actually know what it feels like to be in that space of peace and light. All right. So let's take a moment. I just invite you to sit relaxed. Feel your feet on the ground, feel your back supported by the chair, and remove any distractions which are in your space. Just turn off your phone, put it down, and just sit relaxed. Keep your spine erect, and you take a couple of deep breaths in. Okay. So the way we would going to take breath in is like, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. You breathe in, and you hold for a couple of seconds, and then I would count from 1 to 7, and you breathe out. That's all we are going to do. All right. So take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. And gently exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take another deep breath in. 1, 2. Go all the way in. Fill your belly, fill your chest. Go all the way. Hold for a moment. And then exhale. 1, 2, 3. And as you exhale, you let go of anything which doesn't belong in this moment. So you release everything which is there as you exhale. So even if a sound or if a breath comes out, that's absolutely normal. Take another deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then gently exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And just continue to breathe in deeply, breathe out deeply. If your mind goes somewhere else, just gently bring it back by focusing on your breath. And notice how it feels in this moment. Anything subtle change as you give yourself permission to breathe in deeply, breathe out deeply. And now I want you to bring into your awareness that time in your life, or that moment in your life when you actually experience peace and lightness, like a deep experience of peace and lightness. Maybe you were in a company of somebody who was very supportive, very loving to you, so you experienced that peace and lightness. Maybe you were in deep meditation, or maybe you were in nature, that you were able to experience this. Maybe you were in a company of a little child. All of this actually allowed you to come into that peace and lightness. So step into that place, step into that moment, and check what was happening at that time. What was it that you were saying or not saying, or what the other person was saying to you, or what was happening in that moment. Bring in all the parts of the memory, how you were feeling in that moment. What were you hearing in that moment? Maybe if you are in nature, you hear the sound of the birds, the sound of the breeze, whatever it was. And now going a step further, deeper, beyond those memories of what somebody was saying, what was happening. What was it that you were really feeling in this moment? How does peace feels like in this moment? How does lightness feels like in this moment? So notice these feelings inside you. Also, bring into awareness, where do you feel these feelings? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your heart space? Where do you feel? Just become aware. Not to use your mind, but just where do I feel these feelings inside me? And just take a moment, just stay here. Allow yourself to feel these feelings of peace and lightness. So take a deep breath in and exhale, and you can come back as you open your eyes. Check how you feel in this moment. Anybody would like to share in a word or a sentence? How do you feel in this moment? And each experience is unique experience, so you don't have to compare it with anyone else. How do you feel in this moment? Were you able to tap into that space or not? Either way, it is okay. There is no right or wrong way. You can unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat box. How do you feel? Thank you. Somebody said joy, thinking about the scenic and happy moments. Right. Clear. Yeah. So the reason I asked you this and asked you to go to that place is to really check how it feels like to be in this space, and also to help you realize that that this is your own space. You don't have to go somewhere else. You don't have to wait for several years of practicing something to get into that space. It's already here in this moment. It's almost like it's part of you, this experience of peace and lightness. And because it's part of you, that's why you keep on seeking it. And when it's not present, you're really looking for it. So good news is it's part of you. Second good news is it's available in this moment. All you have to do is just step into it without any judgments, without any whatever is happening right now, this and that. Just let me step into it, and it's available. And you don't have to wait for things to happen, some things to change in your life for you to step into it. It's all available in this present moment. So if you bring into this awareness, if I'm healed, then this would be my internal state of peace and lightness. And the more you step into it, the more you are moving towards your healing. And the more you're taking steps to heal, whatever those steps are helping you move towards this state. So they are both combined, they are two sides of the same coin. So if you understand it deeply, that this is part of me, it is available in this moment, and it's available now, then you can bring it more into your life on day-to-day basis. So now the question comes, how does healing really happen? Thank you all of those who responded, on the chat. So how does healing happens? So if you really see the way the nature has built these different things, like if like your finger cuts, and then you get hurt, and if you allow it to heal, you put a bandage, you put right medicine, or you avoid things which doesn't allow you to heal, like a certain kind of foods. When you get sick, doctor says eat this, but don't eat that. It doesn't happen in US that much, but in India it's very common. Doctor will tell you what to eat, what not to eat. But the main thing is, if you allow it to heal naturally, the things would heal. So our different parts of us, nature, mind, heart, and soul, they are all working on auto healing mechanism, provided that you stop blocking the flow. If you block the flow, like for example, if this is healing, this finger is healing, but instead of keeping it restful, you remove the bandage and every day you keep on looking and you keep on scratching it, then years can pass by. This wound is not going to heal, because what you're doing is you are not allowing that finger to heal, right? So that's what's happening again and again. So if you allow things to take its own natural course, and that's what we are going to discuss, what's the natural course is, then you are actually going to heal things very naturally. So things which are not healing in your life, the signal is that somewhere something you're doing, whether it's at a food level, whether the way you are taking care of yourself at a physical, mental, emotional level, you're continuing to create more hurt or more wound, which is not allowing you to heal. And that is the fundamental reason why when you say, oh, I have these old deep-rooted sanskaras, right? They're not changing. The reason why they're not changing is somewhere something you're doing which is enabling those things, which is enabling those sanskaras to happen. Because first of all, the very reason those sanskaras are in place are they're compensating for something, So your anger, for example, if somebody uses their anger to show their power, right? That anger is compensating for the lack of power within. So you have to show the power outside, right? So the root cause is you do not have enough power inside, but you don't want to appear weak or you don't want to lose control. So you have to show that I have to externally show the power. So you use that anger. But that same thing is creating those kind of challenges where people are not going to be close to you. They are going to be upset with you, or you're going to hurt yourself in that way, that relationships will not work. And when relationships are not going to work because you don't have your own internal power, you're always engaged outside. So it's not helping you heal inside. So the first thing you have to do is to stop using that behavior. Those behavior is a compensation of something which is not healed inside. So your own power is inaccessible to you. That's why you're using it to externally show it. So that's why there is this famous quote that your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So, like for example, another way to understand it is like we have these pure, beautiful vibrations falling on us, right? All the time. But sometimes we are able to experience, sometimes we have a great meditation, we are able to experience, sometimes we are not. But those vibrations are still there. Like it's like in this moment, if you see all the signals of TV like ABC, CNN, whatever it is, news channel, they're all right now in this moment. But I'm not able to see them or hear them because I'm not tuned into that place, right? And I'm not tuned because right now I'm connected somewhere else, or I'm sitting somewhere where the signal is not able to reach. So in that situation, I'm blocking those signals to come to me. Sometimes when I unblock myself, I create a space where, say, I'll go to a retreat, or I take time to be in silence for myself, or do self-reflection or journaling, whatever it is, then I'm able to tap into it. So which means I can tap into it. I've removed the blockages. But when these blockages are there, whatever distractions are there, they're not allowing you to go deep inside and heal yourself. So what blocks you from experiencing healing, So, and I'm talking about these healings specifically around emotional, energetic healing. I'm not talking about physical healing. So all of you already know what to do with physical healing. But at a emotional, energetic level and partially mental level, because what is really happening is that at a deep level, the energies which are blocked inside at an emotional level, at energetic level, things which have happened in the past, like somebody has, say, for example, you really trusted somebody, you loved somebody, you opened your heart, but that person took advantage of you or betrayed you. So your internal experiences, anytime you open your heart, that somebody, when you opened your heart, somebody took advantage of you. When they did that, what really happened was that you are left with the experience of betrayal. So this energy of betrayal is an emotional, energetic experience, So next time you're getting into a relationship or you're getting close to somebody, or where you have to trust somebody, to be very difficult for you, because whatever the first experience was, it was very painful. Second, it was not just painful, it was not healed also. So it is still sitting there. And because it is sitting there, as the new connections emerge in your life, you will not be able to experience it, because this is the block which is really sitting. So you want to open your heart and give your love and light to other people, but this block is there. You also want to open your heart and receive that love and light from other people, but you're not able to receive because this block is there. And this block is the block of betrayal, which continues to tell that, hey, if you open your heart again, you're going to get hurt. And you can't heal it, because in order for you to heal it, you have to really go inside. But it's painful. So you can't really go and touch that also, because every time you touch, it becomes painful. So what really creates challenge, or what really creates blocks in healing, is past experiences, memories, like your past connection with somebody, and they were not really good in their behavior with you, or maybe they were authority figures. Like if you are, so part of authority figures are our parents, right? So maybe our mother or father was very authoritative, or whoever was our caretaker was very authoritative, and they never allowed you to feel safe in that relationship, because somebody was very authoritative, is very controlling, very dominating, very demanding, and then you always felt, oh, somebody who's a caretaker or who is close to me, but is authoritative, means they are going to create a lot of hurt and pain for me, because I cannot feel safe in their company. Now, those people might have moved out of your life, or you have moved out of their life, but you go somewhere else and somebody else is authoritative. Maybe your boss, right? Maybe your partner, maybe the teacher at the center, whoever it is who reminds you of that authoritative thing. Maybe their tone is like that. Somebody who's very authoritative, their behavior is very controlling. It would re-trigger the same kind of experience in you, what you felt in your childhood. So when I work with people, most of the time, 95% of the time, the issues which are actually coming are from the age 0 to 8 or 9, whatever has happened, and they have not been healed. So when they are not healed, you're sitting with it, you carry it with you yourself. If it's very painful, then what you do is you suppress those things, those blocks, so that you do not experience it on day-to-day basis, because they're very painful. And by suppressing it, you could be functional. You can move around in life, because otherwise, how it would be very difficult for you to have an open wound and go through life. Very challenging. You can't do that. So in order for you to function properly, you sit there and you work through it. But those things, because they're not healed, they would get triggered here and there. Somebody would say something, or even you make a bad decision, you start blaming yourself. Oh, you always do this, you trust the wrong people, and see what happens to you. So all of those things continue to happen, and it comes out like, hey, my feelings are hurt. So no matter what the thing is, whether it's betrayal or whether it's something this or that, all of these, or which somebody rejected you, somebody abandoned you, all of these, ultimately you end up saying, oh, my feelings are hurt. That's how they come across. Does it make sense what I'm sharing? Anybody has any questions? So the past experience and memories are still stuck. They have not been healed, and they are not healed. They are sitting as a block of energy there, and they get triggered in different experiences. That's the main thing. That's why, say, if you have, I'm just using the example of somebody betrayed you, what happens is, like, somebody betrayed you. Now you don't want to appear you're weak, or you do not want to appear that somebody can take advantage of you again. So what you do is you put up this persona outside that people, so either you would come out as like you are very strong, you have sorted everything out, you can see through people, whatever it is. It's all very mental still, because you have used all the strategies. So when other people try to take advantage of you, you come out very strong. So other people are always backed off, like, okay, I'm not going to deal with this person because he or she is very strong, very sorted out, they can see through my thing. So you create that kind of a barrier, so that other people, you keep them at a distance. Or the relationships where you are scared that somebody might hurt you, or somebody would reject you, you would reject them before they reject you, right? So that you do avoid feeling hurt in the future. So these are all your strategies in order for you to be functional, in order for you not to re-trigger these past things, or not to get betrayed. which means not to get hurt, not to go through all of these things. So when you create all of these outside persona, first of all, you are disconnected with your own self because you're operating from your outside. So in Raj Yoga, we call it, we have three eyes, One is the eye which I show to other people, like I'm sorted out, I'm all strong, intelligent, whatever it is. The second eye is the eye which I know, which is the one which is hurt, one which is scared, one which feels unsafe. But then there is the third eye. Third eye is the real me, which is the soul, the one which we experienced a few minutes back, the lightness, the happiness, the openness. That's the real eye. But most of the people in the world only know two eyes, the one they are showing, the one which they are hiding. But the third one is, as you get on your spiritual journey, you get to understand that deeper eye much more easily. But in order for you to go from this third eye, second eye to the real eye, the first eye, you have to go through this journey. And all of these things, these blocks are sitting in between. And it's very hard. So sometimes you might have experience of this first eye, which is the soul, the real self, here and there, but it's not a consistent experience because in between these other two layers are sitting, and these two layers are the one which are carrying all the pain, all the hurt, all the unhealed stuff which is there. And if you do not heal them, then your experience of the real I would be hit and miss. Sometimes it would happen, sometimes it would be a divine blessing, or in company of somebody who is already in that space, you would get sparks of it. But on day-to-day basis, on regular basis, it would be hard because these blockages you are carrying are still continuing. And there is a lot of challenge there because whatever has happened with you, so if somebody has betrayed you, so even that whatever they have done and there was nothing wrong on your side, maybe you were 100% right and the other person was 100% wrong, you still feel hurt, right? So there is a story, that person did this, that person did that, and all of that. But most of the time, until unless there is very extreme case, most of the time we already know there were red flags which we have avoided, which we ignored, and then we get into that relationship or get into that situation, and then we went through it. But since we are hurt, what is really happening is we cannot sit with a difficult feeling by ourselves. So we need to give it a story, right? This happened, that happened, whatever it happened. So there was a scenario where there was this little girl which was 6-7 years old, and she was playing in the bedroom all by herself. And there was a big sound, and then once of a sudden she got very scared that she thought there is somebody in the house, and she started calling out for her mother. Her mother was in the other corner of the house where she was in the laundry room, and she couldn't hear the little girl's cries. And she cried, and she felt very scared. She felt very abandoned in that moment because she was calling her mother, and her mother didn't respond because she couldn't hear. So from a girl's side, what she felt was real. She felt scared, she cried, she called for her mother, and her mother didn't respond. She felt abandoned. But she can't sit with this abandoned energy just like that because it's a difficult energy. So in order to be at peace with it, or in order for her to be at closure with it, she just said, maybe my mother doesn't love me because she didn't respond. So whether this story is true or not, but it's good enough to put a wrapper on what you're feeling, to give a closure to it so that you can be at peace, because mind needs a story, right? Mind needs a story because story would give it what? Story would give it a context and understanding, and it would say, I know why this is happening. But mind is really, really scared if it doesn't know what is happening. You sit with abandoned man, you don't really know whether your mother loves you or not loves you or whatever it is. But if you sit with this unknown, it's much more terrible. So you give a story. Like, for example, you go and watch a movie. If it's a happy movie, it's great. You come back home happy. If it's a sad movie, you would say like, oh God, I wish the ending was something different. You wish you were different, but you come to peace with it, whatever it was a sad ending. The worst movies are the ones which you leave you with no ending, like you interpret your own ending, whether this was this or that, and you struggle with it. You come back home and you try to give different meanings, different contexts, different all of these things, because mind wants to come to a conclusion on something. So similarly, in this example, the little girl wants to come to a conclusion so she could be at peace with it. So she gives that story, even though it's not the true story. But say this episode happens a couple of other times, and she calls for her mother, and her mother didn't respond the way she wanted, or she was not able to be there for her a couple of times. Then what she does is this story has repeated because she felt again the same time. She felt abandoned, she felt alone, she felt unsafe. Now she has repeated that story 3-4 times, and now this has become a belief system. You understand? Now, by default, she thinks my mother doesn't love me, and she can live with this belief system for the rest of the life. And that belief system get translated internally, where you say, oh, people you love the most, the closest in your life, they will abandon you or they won't love you. So they would, now this is the belief system. So now that girl grows up, wants to be in the world, wants to have good, meaningful relationships. But every time she gets close to somebody who is very loving, very affectionate, whoever it is, she cannot completely trust that person, because for her, trusting a loving person, allowing them to be close to themselves, close to you, means hurt, means pain. So inside the wire is crossed now. Love is equal to pain, right? Or getting close to somebody is getting betrayed or getting abandoned. So now in the background, this story is running. So whatever belief systems you are running, the stories which are running, with every thought, there is energy, right? So that energy is getting broadcasted now. Like people you open your heart to would hurt you. People who you open your heart to would hurt you. Love is equal to pain. And then whatever we are broadcasting, what is happening? Whatever energy we send out, we attract the same energy, right? So we attract similar kind of people. Sometimes those people come to help us heal, to see that there is a hole in this story. This is not true. But if you're not aware, we ignore those things, you know, we ignore those messages, and then we live with the story. And then how much intellect that 6-7 years old girl has to really understand life. But she created a story, she created a belief system, and she's going to live the rest of her life, 60-70 years, with that belief system. And that belief system becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So this painful thing, which is the feeling of abandonment, feeling of rejection, feeling of unsafety in close relationship, this is still sitting there. And as long as it's sitting there, these stories would continue to get their power. These belief systems are going to get their power from these energies which are there. And the root cause right in the middle of it is the fear. Fear of whatever, fear of losing relationship, fear of getting hurt, fear of fill in the blanks. Does it make sense what I'm sharing here? Anybody has any questions before we move forward? So now, because we have fear here, now whole life is run by fear. That has become the operating system of our life. Everything we look from this lens. When I say lenses, these unintegrated, unprocessed emotions, they are the block which is there. We are living our life, seeing through them. We are looking all the relationships, everything through this lens. And when we are looking through this fear-based lens, everything would become scary. Everything would become challenging. And then as a human being, we are wired for survival. Our number one need is, what is our number one need? Anybody would like to take a guess? What is our number one need as human being? You can type here, or you can unmute yourself. I see somebody's hand, Kashyap family, or somebody has raised your hand. Do you want to say? Yes, somebody said to survive. That's correct. So survival means number one need is to feel safe. It's not love. A lot of people think, oh, number one need is love. No, number one need is to feel safe. And if I do not feel safe in my environment, then it becomes very hard, you know. So I would continue to operate then everything through survive. Survival means to feel safe continuously, you know. Even before food, you can compromise on food. You can probably skip a meal, but if you don't feel safe, that would really compromise your survivability. So instead of fear-based, instead of healing-based operating system, which is like, hey, I can trust, I can feel likeness, I can feel openness, all the things which we experienced a few minutes before. Now we are operating out of fear-based operating system, which is everything is scary. So in order to deal with this fear, I need to create different strategies so that I can be functional in life, right? But as long as this energy is sitting, which is not healed, then the fear-based operating system is going on. And how do you know you're operating from a fear-based thing? Is like, if you think of a past time in your life and you were hurt, something tragic happened, and now you look back at the same episode. if you can look at it and you can understand there is a silver lining, like you are here, you learn something, you become stronger, bigger, better, whatever it is, then you have healed. As if like, and you do not feel any negative charge around that episode. You have forgiven yourself, you have forgiven those people, or even if you haven't forgiven, those people don't matter anymore. But there is no negative charge in that moment when you think about that. It's almost like that episode is there in your memory, but it's almost like a dream, like it almost happened to somebody else because there is no negative charge there. That is when you have actually healed that thing. But every time you think about that thing, whatever has happened, and it triggers the same memory, then it still feels that is, those parts are not healed. And I'm using the word parts, not the whole of you, because certain parts of us are healed and certain parts of us are not healed, and they all coexist together. Like parts which are healed are like parts where I'm compassionate towards other, where I'm loving towards other, where I can serve others selflessly. All of these parts are already healed, but then there are parts where I feel a little jealous. There are parts where I feel upset. There are parts where I feel rejected or where I feel abandoned. Not just abandoned or rejected, fear of abandonment and fear of rejection. Because your mind doesn't differentiate what is real and what is not real. Mind only goes with whatever thought you create, it would actually go there. So certain times when you are in relationship with somebody who's very authoritative, for example, and as soon as they say something or as soon as they use certain word or a certain tone, you immediately feel triggered. Whether you express it or not, that's a different thing, but you feel unsafe, you feel small, you feel that they're suppressing you, you don't have your breath, all of those things. Even though you have all the knowledge that I'm a soul, I am light, I am peace, but in that moment, you find yourself feeling all of those things. And what does it really mean is this unintegrated, unprocessed emotions are very, very powerful. They're even more powerful than your thoughts in certain situations. So over a period of time, if you discipline your mind, you work with proper strategies, and you're working at the same time, healing this part, your unintegrated, unprocessed emotions, then you are actually making progress. You are actually doing true transformation. And if you're not doing that, then you can spend cycles spinning, making a lot of effort, but it would give you very limited results. You would be on the journey for a long time, but if you're not doing this, it becomes a little bit difficult. And and the reason for this is because these things which needs to be healed, they're calling all the time. The signals are already coming, right? So that's why nowadays medical science is also trying to build relationships between emotional issues and how they lead to physical issues. So these signals are already coming. They're always sending signals at a mental level, the emotional level. It can come into your behavior, you're a little irritated, this, that, all of that. But as you do not listen to these signals, you do not pay attention to it, what happens to the alarms if you don't pay attention to it? The alarm keeps on going louder and louder and louder. And the louder here, what it means is the amplification here means is it would ultimately start showing into your physical body. Now, like if you trust somebody, open your heart, and they betray you, it can create a particular symptom in your body. You can go on Google and search, like somebody breaks your heart, you say, oh, my heart is broken. Actually, in medical terms, there is a term called broken heart syndrome, which would have a direct effect on your heart. And that is directly related to being hurt or your trust being broken. So there are a lot of different things which medical science is acknowledging now. But in Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, Indian medicine, we all already knew the connection between emotional, mental, and physical health, right? So we have to find ways to deal with it. And once we do that, then once it's healed, we look back, we realize, hey, I don't have to worry about it anymore. The whole thing loses its power. The stories I've been telling myself, those stories, they would look familiar because I've been telling them for years, but because this part is healed, those stories do not carry any power. I won't take any actions on them. And when I don't take any actions on them, I'm not coming from that fear-based operating system. I'm not creating any negative karma or any waste thoughts. None of those are happening because the underlying energy supporting these stories, supporting this belief system is gone. It's healed. Does it make sense? Anybody would like to ask any question or respond?
Can I
So-
ask a question? Is it okay to ask right now?
Yeah, you can ask right now. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, so you said like, so we should not give power, right? Like, if something has happened in the past or somebody is triggering us, so then how to deviate from that? Like how, like it's, I understand like, okay, we should not empower those thoughts. Like again, you get with the flow and you're creating the same karma. So how one can like, you know, sidetrack or like, one should not get impacted by that. So if you can, I know you must have mentioned, but maybe I missed that part. So if
No,
you can,
I'm going to cover that. It's coming.
okay.
So
Okay, thank
now
you.
I was trying to share what is the background, which is really happening, what is happening underneath, you know. So if we are
Okay,
clear on
thanks.
that, that's good, then we can move on. So these parts which are there, in order for me to be functional in the world so that I can operate, I suppress them or disconnect from them so that it doesn't bother me on day-to-day basis until unless something big happens. That's when it is, they get triggered, you know, or somebody, you go back to your family, you get triggered. So there is an old Zen saying that if you think you are enlightened, you should go and spend a couple of weeks with your family. And then you would really know if you're enlightened or not. So all those people who are visiting your family on Christmas, be enlightened then. So the ultimate thing is, if you remove these blocks, then what you do is you come into the flow. And when you come into the flow, you start expressing yourself more clearly, you know, and expression of whatever has been blocked. Because when I said like you suppress all of these things, and when you're suppressing something, you're not in the flow, you're creating blocks. You're suppressing, say for example, some people, when they get angry, they explode. Everybody sees it. But there are other people who get angry, but they suppress it. With women, it's more common, they suppress the anger. But both of them, and their suppression comes out in sometimes passive aggressive or silent treatment or whatever it is. But either way, both of them are equally harmful, you know. So when you suppress it, you are not allowing that energy which has been created to come into flow or to be released. But we all have so much of capacity. So when we suppress it, it keeps on going, keeps on going. At one point of time, the pressure builds, and one small thing, and boom, you know. And then when we look back after a couple of hours, when everything is settled down, the dust has settled, we say like, wow, who was that person who behaved like that? And that too on such a small thing. But in that moment, it was a small thing, but it kept on building over a period of time, you know. So you can only handle so much. So in order for you to really, first of all, manage it, I'm not talking about healing fully, but first of all, to just get a handle on it is to allow yourself to come into flow, which is to express. So how do you express your anger? How do you express your hurt in a healthy manner, not in the traditional manner, the way people are, you know? So when you are going through that, whatever that emotional body, whatever it's anger, it is hurt, it is this or that, whatever your stuff is. So there are different ways you can handle it. So sometimes you sit in silence and meditate. That's one way of bringing yourself back into expression, because then you can step back, watch everything from a distance, and then you say, oh, this is not worth getting involved into. I can ignore this, I can avoid this, and I can just stay silent. Like you can use meditation. Sometimes you have to use breath because that energy has developed. You have to use breathing exercise to release it. Sometimes you bring it out in sound, like something builds up. Before it reaches to explosion point, you become aware of it and you give sound to it, you know. So sound is one way of doing it, movement another way to do it. So these are all different ways in which you can express to bring yourself back into the flow. Why it is important is because if you do not allow yourself to release this, it would get released at the wrong time, wrong place, in front of wrong people, right? So find what is the healthier version to release it. For example, if you're really angry, a lot of people, you would have experienced when you're angry, you probably have the best day of cleaning in your home, right? You go out and start cleaning everything, right? Instead of exploding somewhere else, you have used that energy to release, or you go and have a good walk, or you go and have a good workout. You probably have a best workout that particular day because you have used that energy, that fire which has built up, you have given it an expression to allow it to flow, and instead of suppressing it. Whatever you suppress becomes worse over a period of time. So anything which you're suppressing is also creating resistance for you or creating the block for you to heal. So when you suppress fear, if you're afraid and you're not able to express that you're afraid, over a period of time, the fear becomes panic because it amplifies, Similarly, if you're envious of something and you're not able to express it in a healthy manner, then envy becomes jealousy over a period of time. And jealousy is something which would erode you inside, because every time whoever you're jealous with, you would just continue to look at them and resent. Envy is like, sometimes envy is a lower form of energy in the form, even though I'm not saying you should practice it, but as a natural human thing, it happens. Like a small brother, younger brother looks at the big brother and says, oh, he does this, I would have also want to be like my big brother. He's a little envious, I want to be. But that's why in the normal English expression, oh, I'm envious of you, in some way, it's like in a small ways, like, oh, I wish I could be like you. But if that brother says, okay, fine, my big brother is a good athlete, I want to be a good athlete, I'm put practice. I'm a little envious of him, but I would put this energy of a little bit of envy into practice more, become like my big brother, stronger like him, whatever it is. That's a healthier way you're moving that energy. But if you sit with your envy energy and you keep on suppressing it, keep on getting envious, then at one point of time, that suppressed envy energy would become jealousy. So similarly, if you want to express your love and you're not able to express your love, then that suppressed love would become possession. Similarly, if you have joy and a lot of joy and you want to express that joy, but your joy is suppressed. Like sometimes when kids are really very joyful, they're running around and all that, but parents cannot handle that much of energy. It's like, hey, take it easy, bring a notch down, sit down and all that. So they're suppressing their joy. That suppressed joy becomes neediness. So all of this is like, whatever you're suppressing, the other part gets filled with the negative aspect of it, So needy person now, so previously they were sharing, everybody wants to feel full, so they want to share their full joy, but they're not able to express their full joy. They have been suppressed. Now they want that energy to feel full. So that, say, if they are suppressed 60%, the other 40% is they would take it from other people. Now they become needy because they want that attention. So a lot of times needy people would basically come in your life, but they don't want to be shown as needy. They want to say, oh, I would be here whenever you want to call me. Anytime you call me, I would be here for you. But you feel something is not okay with that. So that would be the last person you would call, because you can feel that neediness. So all of these are effects, and we all have different of these, sometimes here and there, some of these parts here and there. So what we do is, instead of suppressing them, because these parts are shame, I don't want somebody to know I'm jealous. I don't want somebody to know I'm needy, because there's shame around it. So I suppress these parts, but these parts come here and there. And that's why they become bad sanskaras, the old sanskaras, which I cannot figure out. So between these suppressed energy, if you do not recognize, they come somewhere else, wrong time, wrong place, in the wrong this thing. And the more they come into practice, is because I'm unaware that I'm suppressing it, because there is a shame related to it. What if somebody knows? So the best thing is to recognize it, become aware of it, and find ways in which you can release them in a healthier manner. I hope it is making sense, because if you're not, then whatever percent you have suppressed, the other percent get filled by the negative aspect of it. And then you have to struggle with that part. And that is the key to allowing yourself into expression. And if you allow yourself into expression, then you would come naturally into flow. You become aware, oh, this is the issue I'm dealing with. Because every time you get into anger, oh, this is the issue you're dealing with, but what is triggering the anger? What is the underlying reason for that? And I would go into some strategies how to deal with it, So third eye here means the soul. Soul is, see, at a soul level, when you step back, it's a bigger picture. You can have the whole picture, 3 aspects of time, this, that, all of those things. It gives you a bigger picture, bigger perspective. But at the same time, when you are dealing with people in the real world, if you're really strong and you can stay in that third eye or that the real eye, which I was talking about, from that place, you can manage everything. But to be realistic, you're not there in that place all the time. You're either in the third eye, second eye, fluctuating a lot between them because you are living in the world. You haven't left the body. So when you are not in that place, you haven't reached that level, you have to find ways to heal yourself. Because when you're meditating, most of the time, people feel happy, people feel relaxed, people feel light. As soon as they walk out of the meditation room, they go back and connect with their real relatives or the people at the center or wherever you are. The real challenge starts there, because that's where your emotions, unhealed stuff gets triggered or get into action, right? So understand what is being triggered when. So it's not always the third eye. That's why I said, like, you have to find a way in which you can express yourself. Sometimes meditation works, but at this other times it will not work. So you have to find what would work, So sometimes when you do physical yoga, it helps you align your energy. Sometimes coming into sound, sometimes coming into breathe. Sometimes even listening to a good lecture would help you calm you down. But you have to find what is going to work instead of suppressing your energy, how you can release. Like, for example, when you're upset, when you're hurt, you call a friend, right? You talk to them. And when you talk to them, they listen to you, they give their full presence, attention. And after talking to them, and they might have probably said 5%. If they're really good listeners, they would only said 5%. You have spoken 90 to 95%. But even after saying all of these things, you feel lighter, you feel more relaxed. And actually hearing yourself speak, as you're hearing yourself speak, you would find solutions to your own answer, on your own problems. Because in that moment, you've allowed it to be released, allow it to come into flow, So that flow has to be in a positive manner so that you can release that energy. And once you release that energy, there is less grip of that energy on you. And when you release it, you're lighter, you're more open. Then you can go into whatever you want to do. You want to sit and meditate, you can do reflection, you can do journaling, because then you are in a good place to evaluate everything. But if you are suppressing, you are still in control of that energy. That energy is controlling you. You have to be free of that energy. So by finding ways in which you can come back into flow to release it, so that the grip of that energy is less on you, so you can step back, you can breathe, and then you can evaluate everything. Then you can let all the knowledge which is already there in your soul can actually become actionable, workable for you. So I hope it makes sense, And also, whatever you are going to resist, there is an old saying, whatever you're going to resist is going to persist over a period of time. Sometimes when people are hurt and they feel like crying, but they don't want to cry because crying equal to being weak inside. Somebody there, somewhere they have heard, they have a old belief system. Crying means I'm weak, so I don't want to appear weak, Or I have heard like I should never cry, but that's not natural. As a human being, you are going through this. So say you are hurt, you want to cry, but you are pushing yourself not to cry. You keep on pushing yourself, suppressing your hurt. Now that hurt, which you're not allowing to be released through your crying, is going to become the block. And sometimes you would have realized when you cry, and after a good cry, you release and you become lighter. So you have to see what works for you to allow you to come into the flow, even whatever that strategy you use. Because as soon as you come into the flow, then you have all the knowledge working for you. You have all the things. Then you can actually go do deeper work. What is the deep-rooted stuff which I need to work on? Otherwise, you're still working on the surface. This energy is still controlling you. So I hope it makes sense, Yeah, you're right. It says anger lasts for 30 seconds. How do you hang on to that 30 seconds? I would come to that. I would exactly answer that question in some time, So we all know getting angry is wrong. We should not be angry. But when we find ourselves in the middle of that anger, all the knowledge disappears, because whatever that being triggered in that moment, the response is anger is much, much more powerful and older. So all of these things, ultimately what I'm trying to say is a way coming back into flow is a good way of self-care. If you do not know how to do your own self-care, nobody can do it for you. And then you can spend your whole life trying to serve others, trying to do all the great things in the world, and that's good. There is nothing wrong with it. But you are not able to utilize all the knowledge, all the thing for yourself, because you are not able to do a good self-care. So that's why, what is the slogan here? Through self-transformation is world transformation, right? And self-transformation starts with good self-care. So what is not expressed is suppressed, and suppression is due to lack of safety. So we suppress some things, like we are not able to share things because we do not feel safe in a particular relationship. Like if you're at work, your boss says something to you, in that moment you can't reply back to him because he's your boss, right? Majority of the bosses won't listen, So in that moment, you do not feel safe because you might lose a job. Or similarly, in your personal relationship, you do not feel safe to express yourself. The wife doesn't feel safe to express in front of the husband, so she keeps it inside. And sometimes, even when people have good intention, right? Like when parents say, "Oh, something happens, tell me," and the child knows, or the wife knows, or the husband knows, if I tell to my parents or my husband, they would get unnecessarily upset, or they would get worried. I don't want to worry my parents, I don't want to worry my partner, I don't want to worry my teacher, because they would get upset. So you do not feel safe, so you don't share it with them also, even though intentions are good, that other person really wants, but they do not have capacity to listen or handle what you're sharing. And because they do not have capacity and you do not want to worry them, that creates unsafety. So even with best intentions, there could be unsafety because the capacity is missing there. So you would keep it to yourself. And we do it all the time in the relation. So in order for us to express, we need to find a safe place. So when you call your friend and tell your story, you find safety there. Your friend creates a safe environment. When you go to the center and share it with your teacher, you feel safe there. Or when you are in meditation and you share with God, you feel safe there. So safety is the key. So to understand how do I create safety for myself is the key. Good self-care creates good self-safety. And if you can manage that, if you can figure that out, and I would talk to you some of the things, then you would know how you can handle yourself, manage yourself, and then deeply heal yourself. So when I was talking about all the signals which gets amplified, these are all the effects of the emotions on your physical body. When you're angry, it weakens your liver, right? So even if you have never had a drop of alcohol in your life, it would impact your liver. And every time you get angry, you suppress your immunity for the next 6 hours. Grief affects your lungs, worry affects your stomach. Like when you worry too much, you feel that butterflies, right? And it gets too much, then it compromises your digestive system. So a lot of issues around digestion, if it's not a physical issue, something has physically happened, a lot of this is stemming from that emotional, energetic stuff which is coming from the past. Stress weakens your heart and brain, fear weakens your kidney, all of those. Similarly, love brings peace and harmony. Your digestive system is really good. Laughter reduces stress. These are not new things, but medical science is really recognizing. So all of this is ultimately for you to become better at your own self, to do good self-care. Like these days, people are so concerned when their phone starts dying, right? As soon as the battery starts showing red, people start like getting stressed. Oh, I need to I need to charge my phone. So imagine if that level of care you give it to yourself and you feel a little irritated, a little upset, what's going underneath? You are the one to provide that charge to yourself. So you can sit in meditation, you can do whatever helps you provide good self-care. Good balance is absolutely must. One is not better than other, but recognize what works for you and bring in that balance is the key. So the next part of it, I'm only going to talk about tools which we can use. Okay. So everybody okay till now? Anybody's any other question? Because the next part is just some of the tools which you can use to help yourself heal. Okay. So how does the journey of...
Excuse me, can I see that chart once again, please?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can even you can go online and look for it. There's a lot of information on that also now. But ultimately, this is not a new thing. We were always told, be happy. If you're happy, half of the issues go away. So laughter reduces stress. That's why there are a lot of laughter yogas also which are happening around the world. So all of these things are really key.
Om Shanti.
Yeah.
Just for one information that this session we are live cast on Facebook and it will be coming on the YouTube. So we will post it on YouTube also. In case you are not in our WhatsApp group or something or email group, you can let us know, we will help you. But otherwise, everybody, those who are on our email group and the WhatsApp groups, they all will receive YouTube also. So you can review this. Om Shanti.
Yeah. Thank you. So, and I'm sure all of you have your own practices which you're doing. I'm just bringing more awareness to this. And you can add these to whatever practices you're already doing, your meditation, your yoga, or whoever you are seeing, like whatever it is. Again, these are all suggestions. These are not medical advice. So don't take it as, because I'm not a doctor. So if you're seeing your therapist, you're taking medications, to continue with that, talk to your doctors, as you go along. But you can use these as additions to your journey of healing, So the fundamental rule of all the healing is what you can feel, you can heal. And what you cannot feel, you cannot heal. And what I mean by that is that block, for example, you open your heart, you got betrayed, that energy of betrayal and hurt is sitting here. So this energy is the emotional energetic block. It's sitting here in your heart center. Every time you try to open your heart or think about love, this gets triggered because there is unsafety. Because what would happen if I open my heart again, try to trust somebody and they break my heart again, or they take advantage of me? So that the thought itself would create unsafety. And if you find somebody with whom you are in connection, and it could be any relationship, So the problem is that every time there is a fear of getting hurt again in a relationship, then that part would get triggered and you would do whatever your strategies are, like whether you leave that relationship, you break that relationship, you never talk to that person again, or give a big break. These are all our strategies, how we would avoid being hurt, right? So the fundamentally, in order for you to heal it, you have to go and feel it. But the challenge is there is so much of hurt, so much of pain, and over a period of time, it has accumulated. It's very hard to go and feel it. So when we really try to go and feel it, the mind would do 10,000 things to help to avoid us from feeling it directly, right? Because mind is helping you on one fundamental thing. Mind is only working on one fundamental philosophy, how to keep you safe, how to keep you survive. So going and feeling this pain, this hurt, it's compromising your safety. So what it would do is it would do 10,000 things in which you can avoid things. You can avoid feeling this block. And one of the smartest way mind does this thing is to create stories. Oh, this happened, that happened, then I did this. So if you see, when people are getting too much caught up into the stories, their own stories, and people tell stories all the time, they're avoiding feeling what needs to be felt. And they're not even aware, because the mind has created that mechanism so that you do not feel. So for mind, it doesn't matter that in long term, this same behavior, what it's doing, avoiding you from healing, in long term would become worse. It's like when some people are stressed, they start smoking, right? Even though smoking is bad for health, but in that moment, smoking or whatever the escape is basically avoiding you feeling that pain. So mind strategy is avoid feeling the pain at any cost. Short-term pleasure, even though long-term pain, is fine, as long as it allows you to avoid the pain. And that's what mind is doing. That's why in Raj Yoga, as you have taken the course, the number one thing is to discipline your mind. And the trick which is given, the strategy which is given, is Manmanabhav, because what we are trying to do is trying to change the operating system from fear-based to healing-based, So if we can discipline our mind, we have a good chance we can deal with it. But mind, before even as soon as it senses unsafety, and immediately changes the direction, gets you into the stories, or gets you into the strategies where you do not feel this. So it's your benefit, especially people who are long-term meditators, to really sit with this difficult part of you, because it's not going to kill you. If it would have done, you would have been gone long back, but it's just difficult. So you sit with it and allow yourself to feel. And that's why sometimes therapy helps, or sometimes working with people who really understand this, who can coach you through it, who can understand it. Because between this block, this energetic block, the stories you have, which you are telling yourself for a long time, and the belief system you have created, these three things, to heal it is very challenging, because it's almost like lifting the chair in which you're sitting. Because you try to get hold of story, the belief system comes in, you try to get hold of belief system, mind creates some other thoughts, and then you try to get rid of it, then this comes in. Something or other keeps on jumping from not allowing you to heal. So the question comes, how should I get into my journey of healing? So there are three things basically as a concept which you can use. One is to be present, to be really present, so that you can see, you can watch, you can observe what's really happening. So people who are meditating, if they're not disconnected while meditating, they are aware of what's really happening, or they are not using meditation to escape. Those who are present, they can become aware of what's really happening. So because presence give you the platform from where you can watch what's really happening, what is blocked. The second is to be real. Real means to really acknowledge what's happening. Like, I'm not peaceful, I'm not happy, or I mistrust people, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. All of those things, be real, rather than saying, oh, I'm always happy. No, you are not always happy. Nobody's always happy all the time, unless somebody's worked over a period of time and reached that stage to be happy most of the time, right? So to be realistic, am I fulfilled? Am I growing? All of these things to be really real, and be honest with yourself. Because if you cannot be real and honest, you cannot really see the root cause of what the thing is, right? I've been practicing for so long, whatever the practice I'm doing, but it hasn't moved the needle as much as I would have wanted. So to be real and without judgment, give yourself marks on a scale of 1 to 10, where I'm with my happiness on a day-to-day basis, and don't beat yourself if the score is not good. That's not the idea here. The idea is to be real and see where you are, so that you can say, okay, fine, I'm here. Now I'm realistic and I can move to the next level. So be real. And the third thing is to be heart-centered, which means to be loving and kind to yourself, be compassionate to yourself. Because if you cannot be, then those things are not going to get healed. Because if you're not compassionate to yourself, if you're not kind to yourself, then what you're doing is you are creating unsafety within yourself. And when you're unsafe within yourself, then you would create the conditions in which you are going to hurt yourself. You're not going to heal yourself. So that's why being non-judgmental to yourself, being kind to yourself, being realistic with yourself, is all of those would create the environment in which you would open the doorway to healing. And journaling is a really good thing. So if you write it down on a piece of paper, see whatever it is, you become realistic. Don't do it in your mind, because your mind is way smarter than you are. It would again keep you caught up into the stories. So do good journaling so that it can help. So meditation is really good, because the original word where meditation come from a Latin word called medere. Medere means to heal. So if you're practicing meditation, if you're practicing it properly, you're already being present. When you're present, you're right here. You can watch what's really happening inside in this moment, And in certain moments, to come into the flow, you create positive thoughts. So you come into the flow. So you become realistic rather than being caught up into the energy of whatever that whole thing is, whether it's hurt, pain, that energy, you are going to be away from it. If you can practice positive affirmation, all of this, these are just strategy to step out of that energy, so that you can look things properly. You have a bigger perspective rather than caught up into that small emotion, which becomes the biggest thing in your life. So that is one thing, which is the presence part of it, And then also zoom out. So one of my friends always used to say, Vivek, look at the thing as, does this thing matter? Is this thing going to matter in 10 minutes? Is this thing going to matter in 10 hours? Is this thing going to matter in 10 months? And is this thing going to matter in 10 years? So when you're caught up into it and you're struggling internally creating churning stories, zoom out and see in the bigger picture where it really matters. And in the bigger picture, if it really doesn't matter, don't pay that much attention to that thought or to that emotion. As per research, and this is not my words, 97% of all our negative thoughts and worries never come true. 96-97% of them never come true, our worst fears, which means they're just waste thoughts. And even those, the 4 or 5% which come true, we have the capacity to handle it. Even though it's painful, hurtful, but still we have the capacity to handle it, right? So if you look from that perspective, I can handle it, even though it was challenging. You look at all the situations you have dealt with in your life, all the difficult ones, you're still here. You have the capacity, even though they were difficult. But if you didn't have the capacity, what would have happened? You would have left this world, right? But you're still here. You're your biggest example that you are here. So zoom out and see where this whole thing works. Also, I personally believe that every single thing which is happening in my life, which feels good, not feel good, whatever it is, it's actually happening for my benefit. Life is here, the drama is here to help me grow. That's the only purpose. Even though the way it is helping me grow is not my chosen pathway, but it's still helping me grow. So when I'm in middle of confusion, middle of frustration, middle of everything, then what I'm actually telling is that I tell myself that I may not have all the answers. I may not even understand the whole context. I may not understand any of these things, but I trust that all of these things have a meaning, and I would get to know what that meaning is in a bigger picture. And if you look at your own life, when you were in the middle of the situation, you probably didn't have all the answers. You were in a lot of confusion. But when you look back 2 years down the line, when you're out of that whole situation, you can connect all the dots. You can't connect the dots in that moment, but you can connect when you look back. So trust that this is all happening for a specific reason. And that specific reason is to help me become better and help me grow. There is no other reason. It's to help you become better, help you grow. Even though you do not know how it is really working, but trust that over a period of time, I will know it's God's plan, it's drama's plan to help me become better. So then as you look into it, you will, so also in Indian culture, there is a saying, समय से पहले और वक्त से ज़्यादा किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलता, right? So I'm going to get the right thing at the right time, even the right thought at the right point, right time, So that's why it's really, really important to understand how you go about doing that, So, so I hope everything is clear. So trust is your number one pillar, that everything is happening for a good reason. So there is nothing wrong, all of those things. I have to get those things out, but I have to be aware what's really happening in a bigger picture. The second thing is you have to create a map, So this is the map which, when you're journaling, you need to put this map, and I've just used the example of anger here. You could use it for any of your behavior or whatever it is. So for example, you see what is my behavior in a particular situation. I scream and yell at other people. Then you check what is the emotion underlying this, The emotion is rage. I was very rageful, or very angry. What was the trigger in that moment? What triggered that kind of a behavior for me? That somebody who was an authoritative figure put me down. They used a particular tone, they used a particular thing, they pushed my button, they put me down. So that was the trigger point. Different people could have different triggers. Like some people, if it gets too hot, they get upset, or if it gets too cold, or they don't get their meal on time. All of these things are the triggers which can put you into that place, where you feel unsafe, So your unsafe also is equal to losing control of yourself, of your surrounding also, whatever creates that unsafety. So understand those triggers. What are the perceptions? So when that triggered, the perception underlying is that person, your mind is creating this story. It's a perception. It may or may not be accurate. To be aware of that I'm sidelined due to political motivation. Somebody is playing politics with me, or they're going to betray me, and I'm not good enough. All of those things are there, And then you start looking at this motivation, which is like underlying the story which is running. The motivation is, if all of this happens, I allow this person to have control on me or to be authoritative on me, then I fear losing position. I fear losing credibility. I fear losing safety. These are all different ways of how I would lose safety. But in long term, how I would lose relationship, how I would lose this kind. So this is angry when you are yelling and exploding. The second part of this same anger is suppressing. Some people suppress anger. They do not let it out. They do not explode, but they keep it inside. It's still equally harmful. I become withdrawn and give silent treatment to other people. So either one of you recognize what it is. Trigger is, I was rejected by a loved one. They didn't listen to me, or they were not present for me. They didn't reciprocate my feeling, whatever it is. These are all the big things, or I go to the center, the teacher didn't listen to me, or they didn't smile at me, didn't say Om Shanti to me, or that other person did, whatever it is, you become upset, you suppress yourself, you withdraw, you give silence treatment. The trigger was somebody rejected you. The internal perception, the internal story is, you were not worthy of connection. I'm not good enough. Or especially with mothers, when the kids don't respond to you or reciprocate your feeling, I'm not a good mother, or whatever it is, that story keeps on playing. All of this ultimately is leading to this thing: fear of rejection, fear of losing relationship. This is the long-term fear. Even though it's not true, even though it's not happened, it's where? It's here. So if you create this map for different behaviors where you feel out of control, where you feel these are not appropriate behavior, you would get a good idea where you are, what is the underlying fear. And that's what we would work to deal with it. Does this make sense? Everybody okay with that? Can we move forward? So this is your long-term strategy, how you're going to map it out, all the behaviors, all the things, old sanskaras, which are not working, and you have to go deeper, whatever. And just when you're journaling, just put it down on the paper. Don't judge yourself, oh, this is right or wrong. You can always come back and look at this list and see what is the underlying behavior, what is the story I'm telling. Because 90% of the time, the story which you're telling is not true. So how do you know the story is true or not? When you write it first time, the first question you should ask around that story is it really real? Or you can ask, is it true? First time when you ask this question, your mind would come back and say, yeah, it is true. This is exactly what happened. That person did this, that person did that. Then pause, take a breath, and again ask this, is this really true? And when you ask this question, you would find the light that this is not 100% true. It's all I have made up. Or I was also responsible in that scenario for whatever has happened. It's not just one-way train in that way. So this is the way you actually are countering all the judgments, all the stories, all the waste thoughts of your own mind. Otherwise, mind is running on its own, and you can't do this exercise in your mind. You have to do it on a piece of paper. I don't have time. When I'm doing in a retreat, we go a lot more deeper into understanding this thing or taking people through this. But here I'm just sharing it as a concept so you can take it and work with it. Okay. Is this good, everybody? Yes, no? Any questions? Okay, so maybe one day we will do part 2 of the session. You should ask Sister Hansa, we can plan it sometime. So let's go to strategy number 2. This is what my wife told me how to do that. So this strategy is called BOAT. This is especially when you are in middle of an episode, right? In middle of a drama, when you are angry or somebody has triggered you, or you are like in that situation where you feel unsafe or out of control. Okay. So BOAT is very simple. It's an acronym. So what does BOAT stand for? When you are in middle of an episode, your number one friend is not the knowledge, not soul consciousness, not all of the. If you can do that, you would not be in that situation first of all. But if you can do it, great. Number one is breathe. So focus on your breath. That's why sometimes when people say when you get angry, count 10 times. What that counting really means is to breathe 10 times. So you can even put your hand on your belly or just below your belly. The reason I'm telling you this is below your belly, below your navel, an inch below your navel, you can put your hand and you can breathe 10 times from there, because that's your power center around there. It would help you become stabilized in that very moment. And that's most important, because if you're not stabilized, then you're jumping into stories, you're getting triggered and all of that, So breathing is number one. You can, even in middle of a conversation, when you're talking to somebody, you can even just put your hand just on your belly or below your belly and just breathe. And nobody can say anything to you because it's your body. You just put your hand and it allows, as you focus the breath coming in where your hand is, just below your navel, just do it 10 times and you would find it more stable. The moment you have that little stability, the energy which is gripping you releases its grip a little bit. You have a little more opening to see what's really happening. Second is observe what's really happening. So observe is you can actually see, oh, I'm triggered in this moment. I'm angry in this moment, or I'm suppressed, upset in this moment. You can check. Observe also means where you're feeling these feelings. If you're angry, most of the time you're feeling these feelings in your solar plex, because anger is a response to a fear that something has gone wrong or something is going to go wrong. It doesn't really matter to the mind. Your body would respond to whatever the thought your mind is creating. So you observe where you're feeling it. If your solar plex or in your heart, you breathe into that place. Because you breathe into that place, it opens up. So first breathe, you stabilize. Second, where you're feeling these feelings, breathe into that place. The third thing is accept. In this moment, I am feeling, fill in the blanks, whatever you're feeling. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm feeling whatever it is, right? I'm feeling afraid. The reason is because if you're not realistic, you are avoiding, you are escaping from what's real. So if you're feeling hurt, but you say, I should never feel hurt, or I should always be positive. So what you're feeling is hurt, and what you want is feeling happy, feeling strong, feeling positive. And all of this, what you really want is in your mind, right? And what is in your mind is what? Imagination. That's what you really want. Nothing wrong with it, but that is in your imagination, that's in your mind. It is imaginary. So what you're feeling is hurt, which is real, versus what you want is in your mind, which is imaginary. So who is going to win, reality or imagination in that moment? In that moment, who's going to win? Anybody would like to take a guess? Reality was win. The reality is you're hurt. So focus on accepting what's there, because what you're not going to accept, you're going to resist. It's going to persist. And if you're going to get avoiding feeling hurt, avoiding feeling powerless, avoiding feeling hopeless, and every single soul in this world have these feelings at some point of time or other. So there is nothing wrong. So if you feel hopeless, the important thing is, I will come to this, how to deal with that hopelessness, how to do it. But first of all, accept where you are. And then in this moment, given I'm feeling this, what is it that I really want in this moment? Not tomorrow, not 5 years down, 5 hours down the line. In this moment, I need stability. What would create stability? Breath would create stability. Taking a walk would create stability. Drinking a glass of water would create stability. Maybe taking a break of traffic control would create stability. That's how you transform in that moment. Don't look for 5-year plan. Don't look for 5 hours. You don't have access to that energy. But in this moment, you're hurt. What would help you come out is to create safety so that you do not feel hurt. Whatever that creates stability for you. Does that make clear? So boat. So sit in the boat and cross the river. That's the key thing. You know what you're doing. Breathe, observe, accept, and transform. Because if you're not doing these 3 things, you cannot transform in that moment. And you are going to keep it with you. You are going to re-trigger yourself, or the parts of you which were unhealed, they are going to get re-triggered. Does it make sense? You guys should.
Om
Yeah.
Shanti, brother. I have a question.
Yeah.
So as I'm listening to you, I'm understanding that it is okay to feel all these feelings from outside triggers, right? And what I've been understanding that you don't let the outside trigger bother you. So I'm just kind of confused with that. You know, do we still feel all those feelings, or we just kind of like walk away from the situation and don't let those things hurt you and just go on with your life? Because that's how I've been doing to my day-to-day life. It's just like whatever comes in my life, I just kind of like, okay, well, that's what it is. That's fine. It's going to be okay. So could you explain to me how do I deal with that situation?
Yeah. So see, if what you are saying that, hey, this is how it is, and this is how it would be,
Right.
and that has helped you, and you do not get angry, you do not get upset, you do not feel unsafe, you do not feel any of those negative things, that means whatever you are practicing is good. But say something happens, you get hurt, right? Somebody
Right.
says something, passes a comment, you are already hurt, but you have heard that you should not feel hurt. So you should not feel hurt is a good imagination, not imagination in the sense it's a good thing to practice, but the reality is you're already hurt, right?
Right.
So in that moment, when you're already experiencing that, your number one thing is, how should I take care of myself when I'm hurt, right? So that's a good self-care. So if you are already experiencing, that's why observe is key. Observe what's really happening. So if you're not hurt, that person, whatever they said didn't bother you, then you move on. But if you're already hurt, you feel compromised, you feel somebody's taking advantage of you, or there is no healthy boundary, they're pushing themselves, bullying you, whatever. In that moment, you have to pause and take care of yourself, and then choose what is the next step you can take to come into a place of positivity and stability. So you, as you observe, you would get a clarity. So don't get into, see, should, would, could, these are good things to do. But in that moment, when you observe where you are, based on that, you have to respond. So if none of these things around you bothers you, you're already mastering it. But if you are already hurt, instead of avoiding, instead of ignoring, instead of escaping, instead of suppressing, you should take care of it right there, or find a place where you can take care of it. Because if you're not, you're accumulating it over a period of time, and that would become future triggers that would also make you create waste thoughts or take actions which are not good actions, right? Does it make it clear?
Well, so, okay, let's see that. Yes, I am hurt. I just kind of walk away from the situation. Maybe it is hurting my mind. It's hurting my body. How do I deal with that situation? I mean, you're saying, yes, deal with it. I mean, how do I deal with it? I mean, what do? I do meditation. And I mean, I just want to know the way of, and then I hear from other person, for example, if it's my kids or whatever, they'll say, Mom, does that not hurt you? Are you not hurt? And I just kind of say, no, I'm fine with it. And they just kind of look at my face like, how could you be fine with it? What I'm trying to say is, yes, I'm okay. I'm not letting the outside trigger get to me, but there could be something further down that it's gonna get into my mind. It's gonna stay there. It's not probably in my thoughts, but I mean, how do I, like you just said, yeah, just like you have to find a way, or I don't know exactly what word you use, but I understood that I need to deal with that situation. So how do I deal with it? That's all I want to know.
Okay,
I'm
so
up to the point where, yes, I can say, okay, I'm not letting the outside trigger or hurt me. But like you said, yes, it did hurt me, but I'm practicing right now, not those things bother me. But just tell me the way. I mean, what do I do?
okay, so we are coming to that only. Okay, so give me a minute, we will come to that. So
Okay.
this strategy, what I've told you, is when you are in middle of it, when things are happening, that episode is happening, that's how you bring yourself to stability. That's a short term. So long term, there is a methodology called RAIN. It's used in different tradition in different ways. In Raj Yoga also it's used in a different ways, but I've used in a slightly different language. So number one is recognize what's really happening, which is, first of all, breathe and then observe what is really happening. You're hurt, you're upset, whatever it is, you're angry. Second thing is allow your experience to be as it is, which means once you get little stability, once you breathe, once you come, okay, fine, I understand I'm hurt. I have this energy of anger with me, not when you're exploding in anger, but once you have taken a step back, once you can observe this is what it is, then you sit with it. But number one is you will only be able to do it when you have a little bit of stability, some platform from where you can watch, observe, have slightly bigger picture. You watch as it is instead of avoiding it. So for example, if you're feeling hurt and painful, a lot of people don't want to feel it. They have their own escape. Like some people get into eating, because eating would take their attention away, or some people go start watching TV. Don't do that. So that's escape. So sit with it. What's really happening? You can even use that chart which I gave you to give it a little bit deeper understanding. What is the fear? The most important thing is investigate what's underlying, So one of the ways to experience it is you sit and you see, I'm feeling hurt. And if I check my body all the way from my head to toe, where is the feeling of hurt? Am I feeling it in my throat? Am I feeling it in my chest? Am I feeling it in my solar plex or anywhere else? And you breathe into that part, So as you breathe into that area, you would see your capacity would increase to sit with whatever that hurt is. And then you investigate with kindness. What is it that I really want in this moment? What I really want in this moment is to, mind would immediately come and say, I don't want to feel hurt, or I don't want to feel the suffering, because the mind would avoid you from feeling the suffering. What I really want in this moment is, your internal answer would tell you, in this moment, what I need is support. What I need is understanding. What I need is a bigger picture, a bigger vision, whatever it is. You have to go and ask this with kindness, And the important thing to understand is, the only way you can do this with non-identification is, say, for example, the fourth step is non-identification is to understand that in this moment, for example, you are feeling hopeless, right? Or you're feeling powerless because you are hurt. So your mind would immediately try to put a label to the story that you're a hopeless soul, or you're a powerless soul, or you're whatever it is. But instead of telling yourself this, what you say is, in this moment, I'm experiencing the emotions of powerlessness. In this moment, I'm experiencing the emotions of hopelessness. There is very big difference between I'm hopeless versus I'm experiencing emotions of this, emotions of powerlessness, emotions of hopelessness. Everybody goes through this thing, Because if you say I'm hopeless, powerless, your mind would jump in and label you and stamp you like, this is who you are, this is failure, you're a failure, and immediately design stamp your whole life with that, and then you can't come out of that shame and judgment or that guilt or whatever it is. So recognize what's happening, sit with that experience, after finding some stability, feel where you're feeling, go deep inside, breathe into that part where you're feeling it, and ask what's really happening inside. And the answer would come inside. In this moment, I'm feeling this, and do all of this with kindness. It's okay in this moment. It's okay to feel hurt, including telling yourself it's okay not to be okay in this moment. The key word is this moment. This is not your life. Like, we all feel happy, we all feel sad, we all feel joyful, we all feel all of these things, because underlying the background is you have this trust running, which I told you. Number one thing is the trust part. Even though I don't understand this thing, I'm still believing, I'm still trusting it's going to have a positive impact in my life. All of this is happening to help me grow. But as I'm sitting and investigating with kindness, I'm really going inside and asking what's really happening. And as you can do that, it becomes much more easier. You find the grip is going away of all of this energy. And most important is you are disidentifying from whatever you're feeling by saying, I'm feeling the emotions of anger. That doesn't make me an angry person. I'm feeling the emotions of this. But our mind would try to put a label on it. But what we are trying to do is diffuse that identity. Does that answer your question? Like what you were asking?
Yeah, part of it. I understand that you, like you said, just sit on that situation and just like, if it's in your mind, wherever it is, just kind of breathe on it
and stop trusting most of the things which your mind is creating the stories, So
right.
these are the things which, and you can use your positive thoughts, positive affirmations, but you need to be careful that you accept first what's happening before you add positive thing. Because sometimes some people immediately turn it positive without really acknowledging what's really happening inside. Because if you immediately turn positive, then that positive affirmation sometimes becomes the escape. So what I'm saying is becoming present, becoming real, what's happening, sit with it and inquire without identification. And if you can do these 3 steps, you would find the answers for yourself. Like when I work with one-on-one, it goes much more deeper. I can take people through the journey, but we can't do that here because, hey, it's very personal for each person, the story is. But most important, as on day-to-day basis, you create a safe space. Safe space means find a friend, find a community with whom you can share from your heart. You can allow yourself to express. And a good safe space is where you can share without without being judged, without being fixed, without being thought negatively, oh, you're always like this or whatever it is. So you find that safe place because safety is really key. It could be your friend, could be at the center, whatever it is. So that's the key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one exercise which would help you really understand a little bit more better on this. And then we go from there. Is that okay with everybody? Sure. Yeah, I have to just come back in a second and then I would do this exercise. So when I come back, if you have any questions, just post it here. I would answer it before I start. Okay, this is a small meditation exercise to help you do it more realistically.
Om Shanti, 1 minute before you start the exercise, brother. Hello. Can you hear me?
Sister, I guess he stepped out. He'll be
Yeah,
back
I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, right. No, as you mentioned that perhaps it requires second part of what you are sharing right now. So I want to ask who is interested if we need to do the second part. So we can plan that way. So whoever is interested, please let me know. So maybe sometime in January, we can invite Brother Vivek again, okay? One more time, okay? Okay, I received so many chat messages that they are interested. So we will plan, okay? Thank you so much, Om Shanti. I will mute myself and brother will continue the meditation.
So what we are going to do is now, all of these things which we have understood, these exercises, I'm going to take you through these step by step. So you can use this exercise for your own self. And the idea is that how do you understand these signals which are already coming, so that even before all of these things happen, you can for yourself see what are the signals, because all of these things which are suppressed, which are unhealed, they're always communicating to you. But the idea is to go step by step in every single moment. And as you can do so, you would become master of your own self. So I still use this exercise. I teach it to all the people I do coaching with. But what we would do is we would go through our physical body first to check what's going on, check the stories there. And then we go to our energetic body, emotional body, all of those things. And I don't want you to do typical meditation, which we do here, but just use this as exercise, as a tool to go step by step. And then that would help you get a little bit more clarity around it. And then more you repeat it, the more easy it is. And you can mix it with your meditation, which you do already. All of you are already here because you're already working in your own self-development. You've been practicing meditation, but these would actually help you enhance some of these things, okay? Your practices, so you can change those things. So sit relaxed. Feel your feet on the ground, feel your back supported by the chair. Keep your spine erect so the energy can really flow naturally. And for next few moments, give yourself permission that for next few moments, you're just here to enjoy. It's just a small exercise which we are doing as a activity which we are doing from our place of curiosity. not from a place of right or wrong or judgment. Just be curious. So there is, whatever you're going to find is all good. There's nothing right, nothing wrong. It is what it is. So sit relaxed, feel your feet on the ground, back supported by the chair, your spine erect. Take a deep breath in. Go all the way in and exhale. And as you exhale, you let go of anything which doesn't belong in this moment. Take another deep breath in. Go all the way and exhale. And just continue to breathe in deeply, breathe out deeply. So I invite you to scan your physical body all the way from the top of your head, all the way to your feet. Scan it and see, how do you feel in this moment at a physical level? Do you feel connected to your physical body? Like you feel good connection that you are here in the body? Or part of you feel connected, part of you feel disconnected? Means like you feel more connected with the upper part, not so much with the lower part, or other way around. Either way, it is okay. So check, or you feel completely disconnected, and that's okay too. So there is nothing right or wrong. We're just checking what's there. So check, how do you feel in this moment? And given what you feel in this moment, is there a story running? Like your mind might be telling, oh, your back is hurting because of fill in the blanks, or your neck is this, fill in the... Whatever the story is, acknowledge it and leave it aside and come back to your physical body. You can even answer inside for yourself, oh, I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that at a physical level. Now, the important question is, given what you're feeling in this moment, physically, what is it that you want which would make your experience physically better? What would make it more enjoyable? Being in this physical body, in this moment, the keyword is in this moment. Maybe taking a deep breath, maybe just changing the posture, maybe just sitting with open heart, whatever it is, what would help you make this experience at a physical level more joyful in this moment? Not tomorrow, not day after, but in this moment. You can speak out loud if you want to for yourself or inside, or just make that change. Maybe a sip of water, whatever it is. And notice as you acknowledge what you're feeling and what you want in this moment, see if there is any change subtly, even very small, 10, 15 minutes, you feel better or whatever it is. Just notice that. The next step is we would check our energetic body. So energetically, how do you feel? So energetic body, the energy, the chi, the prana, the life force within us, around us as form of aura. How do I feel energetically in this moment? In this moment, do I feel very energized, very alive, very vibrant? Or part of me feels alive, like the upper part feels more alive versus lower part, or other way around? Or I don't feel any energy, I feel completely tired. Either way, it is all right. It's okay. So check where you are energetically in this moment. And there might be a story if your mind is saying you are feeling this, you have a lot of energy, you have less energy because of this and that. Either way, it is all right. So given what you're feeling energetically, what is it that you want in this moment? What is the longing in your heart to experience in this moment? You want to feel more vibrant, more energized. You want to feel, or if there's too much energy, you want to tone it down. You want to come into more flow. Either way, just given what you're feeling, what is it that you want in connection to that? And notice as you allow yourself, you give yourself permission to experience what you want in this moment. How do you feel? Does something changes, even if it's subtle, very subtle? Now, the third step is, let's check what's happening emotionally in this moment. So what are the emotions which are going on right now? Do you feel open? Do you feel closed? Do you feel happy? Do you feel sad? You could be happy and sad at the same time, excited and calm also at the same time. You could have more than one emotion, or there may be no emotion, and that's all right too. So check what's going on emotionally for you in this moment. And recognize any story which is there behind your emotion. Check where you feel these emotions. You feel it in your heart, in your throat, in your chest, in your head. Where do you feel those emotions? And you can actually breathe directly into that part where you feel these emotions. It's happy, that's great. It's not so happy, that's okay too. Just acknowledge it, accept it. Breathe where you're feeling it so that you can allow it to be where it is without making it wrong, without making it right. And if your mind comes up with a story, you're feeling this because of this and that, acknowledge that story, but leave it aside and come back with your feeling. Feel into that place where you're feeling. And given what's going on emotionally, ask yourself, what is it that you really want in this moment emotionally? For example, if you are open, you're too open, you want to close, a little bit close, so that you do not feel so open and vulnerable, you can close. If you're closed, you want openness, you want more space, you want more stability, more flow, whatever it is. So given what you're feeling, what is it that you want in connection to that in this moment? And acknowledge it, and you can speak it out inside or loud, wherever it is. I want this, and see. As you acknowledge, accept, and express what you want, something changes, something shifts. Now, the next step, I want you to go to that place inside you, your higher self, your soul, that part which has all the innate goodness, all the qualities of you, and then from that place, connect to God, to universe, to the world beyond, and see if there is a message for you in this moment from that space. Maybe it's in form of a word, in form of a vibration, in form of a sentence, or maybe just pure silence. And either way, it is okay too. So check what's the message for you in this moment. And see what's the message. Does it resonate with you? Whatever comes to you, acknowledge it. And now the final step. I want you to now zoom out, like as you step out, zoom out, like to bring into awareness, who was it who was watching all these different parts of you? The one who was watching your physical body, emotional body, energetic body, all of these different parts, just watching from a distance, without trying to change anything. But zoom out, step out, whatever works for you. And just as you observe, watch all these different parts of you. Bring in awareness. You can call it soul, you can call it observer, whatever it is. But from that vantage point of view, what is it you feel as you witness all these different parts of you? And notice how it feels to be in this space. Notice, is it easy? Is it difficult? It's okay to be in that space. Neither way, it is all right. And how does it feel to be in this space as an observer? A detached observer. Is it open, unlimited, or indifferent? Whatever it is, it's okay. So take a deep breath in and exhale. And when you're ready, you can come back. So thank you everyone for joining in. And this is some of the information about me, about BK website, and you can check some of the content, some of the classes which I put there. You're welcome to take advantage of that. Let's finish this.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Let me just stop sharing. So it's already stopped sharing probably. So somebody posted this question about what should you do with people who have gone into vicious cycle of depression, and even on medicine prescription, when and what stage they can reduce. So as I told you before, these are, when it comes to medicine and all that, doctors are the better people to tell how much dose, whatever it is. And depression is very subjective also. So whoever you are working with, they should be the best people to tell you. And I understand medicine has its own effect, because depression could be very debilitating. But these things, what I've shared is when people are in a space where they can be aware, they can acknowledge what's going on, they can observe, it would work for them, not people who are already under the effect of the medication and all that, and they need help. So this information, all of this is not for them. So that's all I want to share. Thank you. Back to you, Hansaman. Shanti.
Om Shanti, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And we are thankful to Vivek Bhai and all of you. And we will see you soon in 2022, brother. I think we will keep one session. Maybe it will take a little time to adjust the dates. But
That's
we
fine.
will be safe. Yeah.
It's
But
good.
we will. No, it is good because I think so many people got good benefit out of it. No? So we will keep another